everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so listen to this. This is two nefarious stories, both involving teenagers, all right? Two of them clearly thugs. Now, the young man on the screen, Mickey Rayner, he's a victim. He's not one of the thugs, but he's actually a victim of one of these devils. So we'll talk about his story in a second. But the first story is about a teenager who's accused of shooting a student in a school bathroom. Now he's going to be tried as an adult. All right. So this happened in Durwood, Maryland. So a 17-year-old alleged gunman accused of using a ghost gun to shoot a 15-year-old boy in the school bathroom back in January is going to be tried as an adult, according to prosecutors who confirmed this just days ago. Now, Stephen Alston has been charged with attempted first-degree murder, possession of a firearm while a minor, first-degree assault, and possession of a dangerous weapon on school property in connection with the January 21st shooting of DeAndre Thomas at Magruder High School. Now, Montgomery County Police Chief Marcus Jones said that multiple teens witnessed Alston shooting Thomas in the pelvic area that day, but that those witnesses posted information to social media platforms instead of calling 911 or alerting school personnel. Didn't I tell you all about this just maybe a week or so ago? I told you all how these kids are so crazy, right? And adults too, in some cases. But rather than calling 911 or trying to help the person in trouble, they'll sit there and record things on their phone for likes and views and clicks on social media. How stupid is that? I told you how I literally saw a fight between two boys or teenagers, and one of them pulled out a knife and stabbed the other while all these other students, at least 15 of them, stood there and watched, recorded it on their cell phones. No one dialing 911, no one yelling stop or anything like that, trying to de-escalate it, nothing. Just recording it for social media. These people are clearly crazy, honey, and programmed, as far as I'm concerned. Now, meanwhile, Thomas was left fighting for his life, according to Chief Jones. Now, the wounded sophomore was ultimately discovered by a school security officer, prompting the call to law enforcement and emergency personnel. That's what I'm saying. Even after the fight was over with, after the kids already been shot, they still didn't go and get help. They just went on about their day. Who's raising these devils? Now, they say Thomas, who suffered critical injuries, underwent multiple surgeries in the wake of the shooting and is continuing to recover. Investigators say that Alston bought parts online and built the ghost gun that he used to attack the students. Now, he said he obtained the firearm because he was concerned that he might get jumped at school. Sure, right? Alston allegedly told investigators that he and Thomas agreed to meet up in the school bathroom to fight that day and claimed Thomas's friends were already there when he walked in. Okay, so what's that supposed to mean? So that's why you shot it? You couldn't just put your dukes up and fight like they did in the good old days? No, because these thugs and punks these days, they want to pull weapons because they're cowards, they're weaklings, and they can't put their dukes up and fight like real men, like they think they are. That's what they can't do. Pay attention. So anyway, goes on to say, Alston said that he was outnumbered and that he did not want to fight. Well, if you didn't want to fight, why'd you go in the restroom? If you didn't want to fight and someone told you to come to the restroom to meet them to fight, why did you go in there? And here's the thing. He's just all cap when he's saying that he thought he was going to get jumped and, basically trying to say that's why he pulled out the gun. Well, you had the gun before you went in there. So clearly he planned on shooting that gun, and not to mention it was a ghost gun that he himself had to put together and make specifically. So with that all being said, I'm not buying his whole little, sad effort at self-defense. All right. Because he didn't even have to go in that restroom. That's what he didn't have to do. And when he walked in and saw there was people in there and he thought he was going to get jumped, if in fact he even did, he could have just left. But anyway, so they go on to say, he said he was outnumbered and didn't want to fight and pulled the gun, hoping to scare the victim and his friends away. Yeah, okay, please. Alston advised he did not point the handgun at the victim, but the victim attempted to grab the gun away from him. Alston advised that he accidentally pulled the trigger and shot the victim. Yeah, I'm sure it was an accident. You know what? At the end of the day, the victim likely did try to grab the gun from him. Who wouldn't? I mean, you're coming there to fight with your hands and somebody pulls out a gun. That's likely instinct, okay? That's your fight instinct kicking in, right? Fight or flight. So, of course, he tried to take the gun. That's what anybody would do. okay, if they were thinking quickly enough. Now, but according to police, the true series of events unfolded much differently. Okay, they said Alston pulled the gun out of his waistband and pointed the weapon at Thomas's head. Now, when Thomas tried to knock his arm away, the two began fighting, and Alston allegedly fired the weapon, shooting the 15-year-old in his pelvis, according to court documents. Alston fled the scene and went to class afterwards, leaving Thomas bleeding on the bathroom floor. So he just went on to class like it was all gravy. I'm telling you, these devils that are being raised today, they have no regard for human life, not even their own. Many of these things. Okay, that's just a fact. Their parents have clearly failed them. Now, and let me say, it's not all the parents, and it's not always the parents' fault, but often it is. Okay, often it is. You have these young parents who are out here partying and living for the street, right? And all of that. They're not home raising their kids, so their kids are raised by the street, and that's just what it is. They get caught up in all this criminal activity and whatnot. So officers observed the frame of a handgun lying on the floor by Alston's feet. Now they say, oh, and then he went to class and tried to blend in with the other classmates, honey. I mean, make it all make sense. Like he didn't just shoot somebody and nearly killed them and left them leaking in the bathroom. Please, honey. I cannot with these sociopaths. But anyway, officers located a magazine loaded with 9mm rounds in Alston's sock, according to investigators. Now, after all the students were removed from the classroom, officers located a spent shell casing and an upper portion of the handgun to include the slide barrel and spring. Now, Thomas testified during a recent court hearing that he did assault Alston with just days before the shooting. Alston's attorney, David Felston, said that his client has never been in any trouble. Well, he's in some now. Okay, so he says it was obviously clear from the evidence presented that he was the victim of several assaults. Some people might call it bullying. The victim in the case admitted that he had beaten my client several times. Well, here's the thing. He said he had beaten the client several times, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he was bullying him. I don't know if he was bullying him or not, but what I'm saying is sometimes you get into fights that you start and you get your ace whooped. Okay? That's just what happens. Sometimes you get into a fight that you were perfectly complicit in and in fact may have even instigated, and then you get your behind whooped. So was that why he got beaten a couple times? I'm just asking, honey. I don't know. I wasn't there, but I'm just curious. Because of course his attorney's going to paint him as the victim and say that he was bullied, but was he real? I mean, maybe he was. But if he was bullied, I don't think that he would have walked into that restroom knowing that the guy and his friends were in there. I mean, if you're being bullied, you try to avoid confrontations at all costs. That's just what you do. Anyway, so Montgomery County Circuit Court Judge David Boynton ruled on Thursday that Alston, who will be 18 on August the 7th, will be tried as an adult. Boynton noted that the maximum sentence that could have been imposed through juvenile court would have been 6 to 9 months, which he believed was insufficient punishment for the very adult-like behavior that Alston displayed at the time of the shooting. Alston faces more than 115 years in prison if he is convicted on all counts against him. Honey, 115 years. Woo. See, that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Y'all better start raising these kids with some sense and talk to them about throwing their lives away. Honey, that judge was not about to let him get 6 to 9 months. Okay, they need some good slave labor, and this is a good way for them to get it. All right, people set themselves up for failure, honey, doing all these foolish things in the terraces and just throwing rocks at the penitentiary, honey. I absolutely cannot. All right, Black people better get it together, honey, before it's too late. Anyway, that's just one nefarious tale. So here's the next one. Students stabilized during a fight in Coatesville area senior high school in Chester County, Pennsylvania. Now, that's the victim on the screen, Mickey Rayner. Now, here's what happened. Family members have identified the teen who was stabbed during a fight inside Coatesville area senior high school in Chester County, Pennsylvania. According to the family, 16-year-old Mickey Rayner Jr. was stabbed when a fight broke out between him and another student at about 7:30 a.m. Rayner is a sophomore at the school, by the way. Now, they say Jacqueline Prowse, Rayner's mother, said that he underwent surgery in the morning at Paoli Hospital and is currently in stable condition, thank God. He was stabbed in his neck, in the arm, multiple times in his back, cut every muscle and tendon in his arm all the way down to the bone. I mean, these kids are absolutely nefarious. They absolutely are, some of them. They are still observing it because it did nick his colon. Wow. So they are watching to make sure that there is not a hole. So police have identified the suspect as 16-year-old Odell Cannon of Coatesville. Now they say he is wanted for attempted murder and is not yet in custody. This is an extremely upsetting incident, says Dr. Rick Dunlap, a substitute superintendent for Coatesville Area School District. He said this in a letter to the families on Tuesday morning. He said, "I'm extremely sorry to report that at least one of the students was stabbed and was transported to the hospital. Proud said that her son had problems with other students in the past at school, and her family is fed up." Now, the school should have done more. "I have been dealing with my son getting bullied since the beginning of the year," Proud said. Rayner's cousin, Marissa Hartman, a senior at the high school, has also witnessed the violence. Now, it's been all year. There's violence all year. Fights. Kids get jumped to the point that they go to the hospital. Kids' heads get stomped in. It's not gonna change. Now, Cullen Township Police confirmed to Action News that the school, which consists of grades 11 and 12, was placed on lockdown. School officials began the process of dismissing students early or shortly after the incident. They say Cash is now an active crime scene, and that's what they call it, Cash. They said it's now an active crime scene, and we need to allow our police departments the time and space to complete their investigation while ensuring there are no further disruptions today. That's what Dunlap said. Now, the superintendent said students would be interviewed as they were being dismissed. He said the school would follow up with counseling for students and staff. And they asked for anyone with information on Odell Cannon, the thug who did all this stabbing. Anyone who knows his whereabouts to please contact the police. Left him with 6 stab wounds: shoulder, neck, armpit, and lower back. This is all so sad and clearly nefarious and egregious. And so, not long after Odell Cannon violently stabbed a classmate at Coatesville Area Senior High School, another young man wreaked horror on a school in Texas, noting that, this is what Ryan said, noting that her office will hold Cannon responsible for his actions to the fullest extent of the law. This must end, and it must end now. This is what Ryan said. Parents should never have to worry when they send their children to school. Children should be safe. They should feel safe and protected while inside school walls. But honey, unfortunately, that is no longer the case. It just isn't. Okay? We have all of these thugs just running rampant. We have these mass shooters, wanton supremacist devils, just doing the absolute most. We have racist teachers and staff. We have little racist devils who want to bully. There's all kind of stuff going on in school, honey. I don't know why y'all still sending your kids there. Please homeschool your kids if you know what's good, okay? Because this stuff isn't going to stop. The teachers clearly don't do anything about the bullying. When you see these kids being, going through this for months, and then they tell their parents, they tell the parents go to the school and complain, honey, the school doesn't do anything. And then, even if they tell you they're going to do something to the students who are doing the bullying, they won't ever tell you what it is because of privacy issues and concerns, according to them. So it's all a load of BS as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, everyone, please like and share, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all. Now, I'm going to say this about that first case, though. Though that devil in the first case, the one who shot the guy with the ghost gun, he absolutely needs to go to prison. I'm sorry, he does. He needs to learn his lesson. But 115 years, I mean, that's crazy. They know darn well they wouldn't have given Brad or Chad 115 years. Matter of fact, they wouldn't have even given them 15 years. Pay attention. So that's just, good slave labor for them, like I said. But when you engage in nefariousness, that's often what happens. And they're just waiting for you to do something foolish. And so they have an excuse to put you on the plantation. And I don't know when some of these Black people are going to wake up from the slumber and realize this. I mean, why would you just, voluntarily walk right into slavery? And that's what you're in fact doing every time you go out here and commit a criminal act, especially something heinous and violent. It's just all so ridiculous, honey. Parents need to do better as far as trying to be aware of where their kids are, what they're doing, who they're around, whether or not they're in class and actually going to school and things like that. And I know you can't watch them 24 hours of the day, but you could at least be a little bit more strict on them as far as it pertains to who and what they're doing on social media and all of these things, searching their rooms to make sure they're not stashing drugs and weapons in there. How do these teenagers have guns? Where do they keep them when they go home at night and sleep? I'm sure they keep them in their homes. Parents don't do enough checking on some of these people. And that's why these things continue to fester, honey. So anyway, with that all being said, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all. All right. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur. You can also follow the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur fan page, and you can follow me on Twitter at D.